Devilman is undoubtedly one of, if not the most influential manga of all time. You can see influences of it in Berserk, Gantz, Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen, and plenty more. It was created by Go Nagai back in the 70s, and Devilman tells the story of Akira Fudo, a genuinely good-natured guy who merges his essence with that of a demon, taking control of its power and using it to face down other demonic entities. But the themes of Devilman are not just a generic superhero story. Instead, it's filled with pain and tragedy and a sense of losing that which you care about most. And in many ways, it's ironically about a complete loss of control and a destructive world and what humanity is capable of. It shows the nuance between good and evil and twists what we understand about each of them. And it's filled, and I mean filled, with violence, nudity, and gore. Yeah, Devilman does not hold back on its darker, more adult subjects, and has been considered to be pretty controversial because of it. The funny part about that is it's not even Go Nagai's most graphic manga, but it is his most popular, and it's pretty important in the history of the medium. I would highly recommend picking up the 2 hardcover editions if you want to collect it in physical form. This is the whole original story, all 5 volumes, presented very well here. They look great on the bookshelf. The binding is pretty solid, and it looks like they took a lot of care into these releases, and so I would definitely recommend picking these ones up. But we're not here to talk about the manga today. Instead, I want to take a look at the anime. Well, not the original anime, because, okay. First, real quick, the first official Devilman anime has virtually nothing to do with the manga storyline. It was an anime series that aired in the 70s, which took a more superhero/Super Sentai style approach to it, kind of a villain of the week format where Devilman faces down a variety of foes using special attacks, ability is growing gigantic, and yeah, it's very strange. It kind of reminds me of when in America they made a TV kids cartoon called The Toxic Crusaders that was actually based on an extremely violent and gory movie called The Toxic Avenger that no kid should ever see in his goddamn life. So it's kind of like you take one super dark, gory entity and then turn it into a kid's show. I see the similarities there. I don't know how you get from point A to point B, but it's definitely something that happens on occasion. But no, instead today, we're going to get down and dirty and mix in with the filth and disgust of all things violent and abhorrent. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the 80s Devilman OVAs. Being able to go as hard as they wanted without any kind of TV restrictions and adapting the manga in a near pretty faithful way, I still think these are the best way to experience Devilman in an animated format. Now, a lot of people may be more familiar with a Devilman anime from Netflix's Devilman Crybaby, which for all intents and purposes was a pretty decent adaptation of the original manga storyline, but it definitely has its own distinct style and flair, especially with the animation, and that is going to be hit or miss depending on what you're into. I like Devilman Crybaby for what it was, but for me, it's not a definitive way to experience the Devilman story. The first OVA was released in 1987, and its animation style is something that generally appeals to me much more. It's got that dark, gritty, and atmospheric look that a lot of 80s anime did, but it also feels a little bit more like an independent horror film rather than any kind of flashy anime. This was my first introduction to Devilman, and the tone, the color palettes that they used, and the feeling that this anime gives me is still kind of how I think about Devilman in my head. And I actually think the animation and its overall presentation is extremely impressive, even for the time. The way the demon creatures are designed and the way they move and feel, it feels terrifying and abstract in a way that you look at them and you just feel like it's something not of this world that should not exist. Something that if you saw in real life would actually scare the shit out of you. I mean, really, you'd probably shit your pants. And of course, that all goes in with the gorgeous 80s edge and violence that you could possibly want with something like this. The way that the action and gore is animated feels visceral and fantastical at the same time. They make the violence and bloodshed into its own kind of art form. So even though you're looking at something disgusting, it looks kind of pretty in a way. Or maybe I just have a sick mind, I don't know. Whether it's the first encounter with the demons or the rave scene massacre, it's the kind of thing that if you saw it at an early age, it would be seared into your brain for all eternity, and it definitely has been. Disturbing and yet entrancing at the same time, it's done in a way that I rarely ever see recreated with any kind of modern day anime. What most people consider to be the original Devilman OVAs are 2 episodes that are about an hour long apiece, and between the both of them, they adapt about the first 2.5 volumes of the manga, which only has 5 volumes in total, so it's about half the series. The first episode is called The Birth, and I think it's the best of the 2, but I also really enjoy the origins of Devilman and the early portions of the story, so I'm a bit biased there. But I also really love all the Akira stuff that happens before he becomes Devilman. In the opening episode, similar to the manga, it shows a primitive Earth with angels being horrendously devoured by devils, giving you an example right away at the beautiful darkness the anime is going to be capable of. We're introduced to Akira as a gentle guy upset that a group of bullies killed some innocent rabbits, and he desperately tries to protect the last living one. But things get weird, and I mean really weird, very soon when an old friend named Rio shows up out of nowhere and requests that Akira come with him, only to then explain how his father got possessed by a devil, killed his dog, killed himself, devils are real, they're after Rio, and because he knows about them, they're trying to kill him, and eventually he brings Akira to an underground rave where they have to try to get in touch with their primal selves, eliminate reason so they can merge with a demon and attempt to harness its power in order to take down the other demons in some kind of weird, creative, destructive way in one of the most barbaric anime scenes ever put to screen. So yeah, anyway, it's kind of crazy. First, I want to mention on a serious note how good this first demon attack scene is. The ominous dark looking hallway, the way the windows shatter first before the demon arrives, and just the macabre and horrific demon designs at play here. This scene is genuinely scary, and because this is before Akira becomes Devilman, it's got an enhanced sense of tension since he's just an ordinary human that has no idea what's going on. The whole sequence from here to the car chase and back is expertly done, and it's some really great stuff. But on a lighter note, I would be remiss if I did not mention the English dub for the OVAs.
Fuck you!
Okay, so this was originally dubbed and released in English during the mid-90s, and what you have to remember is at this time, anime was mostly underground and a very niche kind of thing, especially hyper-violent adult anime like Devilman. Back in these times, dubbing wasn't taken as seriously as it is now, and that's not to say the voice actors were trying to be bad, but it's absolutely a product of its time, and watching the dub is without a doubt an entirely unique experience in itself.
Oh, of course, it's my old friend Rio. How the hell have you been keeping then? What the hell are you doing?
The girl stays here. Now come on, we have to get a move on. And then he died.
Is it okay for me to wear my shoes in here?
I don't give a shit.
What the fuck?
That's it. I'm gonna send you straight back to hell. I'm Devilman.
Look, I don't normally get into the dub versus sub debates or anything, and personally, I usually watch dubs, especially nowadays, because I think bad dubs are mostly a thing of the past, but Devilman is a prime example of that past.
Fuck you!
But it's also an incredibly fun and hilarious experience that I don't think you should miss out on. So maybe you can simultaneously appreciate the vibrance and intensity of the animation while also having a really fun time with the dub. I would recommend it both ways. But the scene that always stands out in every Devilman experience is the nightclub scene. I can't show you much from it because there's a lot of nudity and things that YouTube would not enjoy me showing, but I've always liked the idea of replicating an ancient satanic ritual in a modern day circumstance that by the partying, the drugs, and the sexual things that are happening, and it makes people get out of their heads and makes them unable to use reason. It's like in order to tap into demonic energy, you have to let yourself go completely and give in to that pleasure of hedonism. Or just stab people with broken bottles. But it works as the spirit of Amon attaches to Akira, but due to his pure heart, he's able to overcome and be the dominant personality of the merger. But also, due to the merger, Akira does lean a little bit more towards his darker tendencies and still revels in all of his kills. But at least he's killing other devils. The second episode, originally released in 1990, is called The Demon Bird, referencing its main antagonist. Another character that I can't even show you because there's not one scene where she isn't topless. So if naked demon bird women are your thing, you're gonna love this episode. Also, Mickey is naked a lot in this episode. Hell, even Akira is naked a lot in this episode. I really can't show you anything from this. But I do want to mention the demon turtle. It's a creature resembling a turtle that keeps trapped human souls in its shell. In the manga, it basically just looks like a big turtle, but in this anime version, I think it really enhances the creature by making it look absolutely grotesque. The scene is also really effective because one of the souls it has is Akira's mom, so basically in order to kill the demon, he also has to kill his own mom, and it's unironically some really powerful stuff, and I think one of the best character moments that happens between both episodes. But it really shines with the animation and the fight choreography here, especially with its big bad Serene. It's a fight that goes on, but it has lots of moving pieces, different locations, and an unholy amount of gore and dismemberment. It's the first time Devilman really faces an adversary that's on his level, and a moment where we get a lot more characterization from the devils. They fight on the rooftops of the city, they fight in the air, they fight in the forest, and use everything at their disposal, ripping each other into pieces. This is the kind of aesthetic and animation I like best, that dark 80s, 90s style on full display with incredible quality and choreography. But sadly, this was the last OVA at the time, and they never were able to finish adapting the manga. The closest thing we get to a continuation is a third OVA that came out a decade later in the year 2000. This one is called Amon, The Apocalypse of Devilman, and even this one doesn't quite give us everything in the manga, but it comes close. This one is about 45 minutes in length, and the animation is mostly on par with the original episodes, and this one as well does not hold back on the violence. In fact, this one has arguably the most disturbing scenes out of all of them. And I'm not even talking about the scene where Devilman rips off a demon's boobs and takes a bite out of them. But, that does happen. No, it's because this one features two major character deaths, and they are shown in very graphic fashion, and I think what makes it so disturbing is that, one, these are innocent characters that don't deserve to die so horribly, and also the age of the characters. So yeah, if seeing children in danger bothers you, maybe avoid or approach this one with caution. This one also decides to focus a lot on the confliction within Akira, basically between the human Akira and the devil Amon that's inside of him. And it leads to a massive confrontation within his own psyche of the two of them, but it's done really well, and for only a 45-minute runtime, it manages to pack a lot of emotion into its climax. There's also a hilarious moment of Akira punching Amon in the face for like a minute straight. I'm not kidding. That's awesome. But yeah, I don't have much bad to say about this one. I don't have as much history with it because I didn't watch it when I was younger, and it was only kind of fairly recently that I saw it, but it's got great animation, intense action, and some really cool devil designs. The only fault I have with it is that it still doesn't adapt the finale of the manga. The manga's ending is so good, and it's just kind of left out, but otherwise, I would recommend this one as an addition to the first two. The Devilman OVAs are incredibly impressive works of art for those that like the dark and macabre, but also doesn't neglect the human side of it all, which is kind of the whole point, that battle between good and evil within us all, our inner darkness, and the darkness of humanity itself. It's all in there, as subtle as it may be, but Devilman's ideas and presentations have been passed down to dozens and dozens of current manga creators, and without Devilman as a baseline, we wouldn't have a bunch of anime and manga that we adore today. Maybe Devilman wasn't the best at explaining these themes, but it definitely set the template, and it's still pretty damn good. So if you guys have never seen the OVAs, I definitely recommend giving them a shot, but remember, they lean way more into the horror side of things than they do any kind of modern action anime stuff. Unfortunately also, I don't know if they're streaming anywhere, but I do know the original two OVAs have been collected on a Blu-ray set that's available with some pretty good quality. Other than that, you'll have to search around for it if you get a chance, but if you search hard enough, I'm sure you'll be able to find it. Also, nothing against the Crybaby version, I think it deserves its recognition as well, but for me, nothing will beat the tone and style of these originals. So if you guys have seen the Devilman OVAs, let me know what you think down below. As always, guys, thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. Give it a thumbs up and a comment to help it out in the algorithm. Check the links in the description for my Patreon, channel memberships, and various social media links where you can follow me. Other than that, guys, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll talk to you next time.
You could easily hurt someone.
That's the idea.